you and talk to
Yeah,
me?
you know, I call this channel InnerViews. You know, as a, you could say, a play on words, but also right to the point, to look at how it is from the inner instead of looking at the outer view from the outside. So I want to talk to you because I have met some nice people here at Think. And yeah, I'm always meeting some pretty amazing people, but I don't know who you are. This is like the phrase I've almost said every time because I try to plan it that way, that I don't know the people.
So
that
you
I'm
look at
speaking.
me as a freshman.
Yeah, and I'm sitting here like, yes, who is this guy anyway?
Good,
You know?
good.
So, you know, you came to Think, how long have you been doing that, and what's, yeah.
What brought me to Think was a friend of mine brought a Bhutanese friend of mine. So it was a friend of a friend.
A friend of a friend brought you
Who is
here.
the director of the National Museum in Paro.
In where?
Paro is the town you fly into in Bhutan, and he's the director of the National Museum, and he's also a scholar in Buddhism and Buddhist philosophy, and he's very eclectic. He's interested in Jewish Kabbalahs, he's interested in
What is a
Buddhist
Jewish Kabbalah?
You know, the tarot is cards come from that. I don't know anything.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, except
don't
that
know anything
Kabbalahs
about
I don't know anything about.
Okay.
So
But the tarot comes from that too?
that's what I've been told.
Wow.
Let's
okay.
go back to that.
Yeah.
If it's before, or if there's some Indian cards, I don't know. I know, but this is for me.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it either.
What
Tarot.
what is occult and what is spiritual? I think there's a great divide.
Yeah.
Spiritualism, for me, the most essential way to describe spiritualism, because getting out there where you hardly can find your way back is easy, but to become spiritual is a task, it's a challenge. And His Holiness the Dalai Lama described it in the most perfect way I ever heard. He said, try to feel where your feet connect on this planet. Realize where you start, your spiritual travel have begun. And I thought, is it that simple? And this is such a challenge because I'm in my head. Do I really need to connect with where I walk and know where I'm walking to become myself aware? Or can I just say, I was out flying, I'm very aware, or is it being grounded, being here for real? And at the same time, develop compassion, because compassion makes us engage, compassion makes us want to create a better world. And that, I believe, in spiritualism. A lot of the other thing where people eat something and engage in some ceremonies and they get a kick of something, I think it's very occult. Because you can't sustain it. It's not something which really will last you. Where the Dalai Lama approaches, why don't do a little meditation? 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 2-3 times a day. And what happened, Dean, is we now know from Francesca Varela, who was the main brain scientist in Paris on the European Brain Research Project, where they mapped the brain, how that works. And from Richard Davison, who is now very active in scanning and doing MRI on the brain, that meditation changes the blood circulation in the brain. And it does it very quickly. It's not a two trips to the gym, but it's 5 minutes meditation 2-3 times a day. And after a few months, when you scan the brain, you suddenly see thickening in those areas. If you meditate,
What?
thickening of the activities areas in the brain, and you will then see if you, I'm meditating on being wide open, I'm meditating on being focused, or I'm meditating on compassion. You can see that the area, the thickening of activities have increased in 3 months. So
what is it when you say the thickening?
Is
Is
that
it because
to-
you can see, like, how are they seeing that?
they can actually. I'm not a brain expert and I'm not an
No,
MRI
no.
expert.
No,
But when
with
you
an
see
MRI,
when you see the
yeah.
pictures next to each other, they can actually those scans shows that those areas
Activity.
becomes more
Yeah, there's
active. So
yeah.
when you meditate on compassion, you will develop more compassion, more empathy. If you meditate on being calm and alert, like the Tibetans are focused on, then you become more calm, but you also remain open and alert. So it's very funny because you bring back what I always said to my friend Kempo Puntaktashi, who came here and spoke. Meditation is brain gymnastic. It's brain exercise. It's strengthening the brain. But the reason I came to meet him this evening was because he was talking about what the Bhutanese call great national happiness. And I'm also a little bit earthling, and I've been involved with alternative energy, recycling, NOAA when that was famous, all this organization in the 70s who was active and done a few funny things to bring attention to it early on. So he was here and he talked about Bhutan, and Bhutan actually proven that we can go carbon neutral and even negative, because Bhutan now produces more energy than it consumes, and in that respect is a carbon neutral country. It's also a country where you're not allowed to use pesticide, herbicide, fungicide. So the whole country is what we call ecological imbalance, and it has a constitution which says that 72% of the country must be national reserve. So they, at this given year, came out and had an 8% growth in the national product, which against defy all these crazy people who goes around and say, let's do industry, let the bank grow, let us do all these political things because we need to boost the economy. We now on this planet has one country, a whole country, which is very backwards, who have taken it into the 21st century as a carbon neutral country, protecting the environment. We in Denmark, where you're American I assume, all have an example which we better start following. We start talking about we have one carbon neutral country, and it's done by sustainable energy.
So this is really good. I just want to pull in some more things about how did you get involved in this, and why is this interesting for you? Is that something that brought you here? Because a lot of people are talking about sustainability and so many questions.
I came to see my friend Kempo Puntaktashi from Bhutan.
Okay.
Because we go back and I love him, and we're just great friends. He teaches me about meditation and Buddhism, and we joke a lot.
Are you a Buddhist?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Okay.
I've been that for 42 years.
Whoa, that's a long time.
So that's part of my life, and we have been. But Kempo came here and he was talking about how environment was balanced together with spiritual development.
In Bhutan?
In this place. I met Kempo in Bhutan years back.
Okay.
And I get to speak to Anya, who is such a core part of it. And on the way out I see a poster which was the political message. I start reading it. It dawns on me, this isn't a political shit about I'm a leftist, I'm a rightist, I have an agenda. It's pure, pragmatic application to how we should shape and live our societies for the benefit and the good of all of us. And I look at Anya and I say, who came up with all this? Who put this together? Because I can put my heart into it. This is great. And she said, we did. We think we are we want to make this applicable to our society. I said, but this is not a left, it's not a right. It's radical because you want to bring the earth back to a balance where it's healthy, where it's sustainable, and where there's a distribution of wealth and health and fairness. So everybody has a chance to function in our society. I like that. How can I become a part of it? So I came a few times, and then I like the people here. It's just like having a family without the intrigues. And so it's great. It's just sweet. It's just.
How long have you been a part of Think here? So
it must be close to 9-10 months.
Okay, yeah.
And so I said to Anya, I said, why don't you give me, I don't want to get paid for teaching meditation, but I'm sure I know something about meditation which would help somebody. And I also think if you get your mind worked out so you feel better, you are happier, you need less things to satisfy yourself. You make more qualified decisions, and you crave less for stimulus like drugs, food, etc. You just become a more whole person. So I said, can I teach meditation here? And she was very kind, and she said, you want to? I said, just give me a little plot in your calendar and I'll come in. And she said, what if nobody's coming? I said, it makes no difference. I'll be here. I'll do meditation, and as long as we have the program, I'll come back. And she said, is that true? I said, absolutely, because I know this program will start day one and run on to the end.
Wow. And so how long ago did you start doing that here?
We started in February.
In February. Wow, so it's kind of new, huh?
I haven't taught before, but I got into shape, and what I really enjoy is when there's 3-4 people, because it allows me to work with the individuals. If you become bigger, like 8-10, it's more group feeling. But when there's few people, I can sense what people need that day, and I can help them. Like you saw Maria walked out when she came in, and she was
Okay.
A little bit uptight, and when she left, she was
mellow and
much more mellow and feeling better. And just sitting and counting the breath in and out to 21 makes it different on people, and they don't believe it.
No, I get that. Yeah.
But Dean, tell me, people would go to the gym to make themselves look better 3 hours, 4 hours a week, but they will not spend 5 minutes twice a day to make themselves function and feel better.
Yeah. It's not in the cultural paradigm, you know. It's like I talked to my wife about these things. Many years ago, I mean, I've been hearing about meditation all my life. And I've done degrees of it, but I've never been serious about it. And even when I've heard all these things, I in the back of my mind, it was like, I know a lot of people say you can do all this, and there are people out there, right? That's how I had it. And I said, I can understand why people have it the way they do, because they're living life in the way they're looking around them and seeing what people are doing, and they follow along. We all follow along. We join the gym. We do these things. I've been, hearing about Wim Hof. I don't know if you know who that is. They call him the Iceman. He's this guy who walks around. With just his shorts on and and
Dutch guy, I heard of him.
And he goes underwater, for a long. He's had all kinds of studies, and he teaches people to do it. He's had researchers study him, and he said, "I'm not, a superhero. I'm not someone who, what I do, I can teach anybody to do. And he did. He got like 10 or so students together, and he taught them in like 5 days the techniques he did. He took them out there in the wild, doing exactly that. They brought them into the lab, and they hooked them up and checked their, things that you shouldn't be able to do. So, yeah. Then you become Then I started to think, wow, he's talking about breathing. Breathing deeply. He's mainly talking about controlling breath, and so it becomes very interesting, especially for me. What becomes interesting is, I'm, like I told you before, I'm going to be 58 pretty soon here, and I'm just thinking, I feel younger every year, and I'm thinking younger every year. I'm doing more things. I started doing yoga with my wife about 3 months ago, and I just love it. Now, before, the thought of doing yoga was like, oh, I tried that a long time ago. It was a little difficult. But now I'm open. Now I'm ready for it. It's like I'm ready to supercharge what I've been doing and what I'm thinking. It all seems to fall into place. It all seems natural now, given that, where I'm hanging out with my thinking.
I recognize it because there's this. I see two kind of way to age. One is that people lock themselves into the patterns, and then will become very inflexible because
and literally
this is my lifestyle, and I go on holiday and I drive and I do this and this.
Be comfortable.
And it's a routine, and it's really the safety routine and how they live with the wife or alone. But they're very good in giving themselves routines, and as long as they're maintained with the weekend off, it's wonderful. You seem not to be one of them, and I'm definitely not.
I can't be. I have a great wife, an incredible wife. She, a long time ago when I was in one of my downward troughs in my life, where things were looking like they were really out of balance. At some point for several months, I didn't have a place to live and no work, and it seemed like no matter what I did, I couldn't seem to get any of those to happen. I had kids, that I had to come and visit me while I slept, very unstable period for 3 or 4 months. And I tell you, during that period, it got me to really look at, I said, I had this crash, in identity. I had the crash. And I'm well aware of this stuff, but it's one thing to be aware of it and have it be so part of what that it becomes invisible, and then you have a crash. I had a crash which made me become very present to what I know. And I said, here you are. How did you get here? With my tears, and I was like, knew I was being a victim, but I was allowing myself to be there. And it's like, yeah, well, you got here because of your choices. Your choices, everything you've chosen has gotten you here. Not like bad, not wrong, but real, for real. Everything you've done. So I'm like, well, what have I done? And it's like, well, you sold out. That's what you've done. You knew you were committed to big things. You knew you were committed to making a difference in people's lives. And what did you do? You settled for going for a job, and you settled for, chasing down the home and chasing down this, that, and the other. And you're no good at any of that stuff. That's not what you're here for. So you sold out. That's why you're here. It's like, that's okay. You're here because you didn't choose to have all that other stuff. But you're pretending that all these things in the background, I wasn't even aware that I was actually chasing those things down.
But we change impermanence.
Yeah.
We change what will change. What gives you joy today, if you're not balanced, will cause you suffering tomorrow.
Yes.
And this is really, a delusion which society and politicians are playing into the fear of people and saying, you will, if you have a good job and you save money for pension and you behave well, you will have a good life. But they forgot to tell you, eventually you will die.
Yeah.
And you have to know, have you lived a fulfilling life?
Exactly.
Have you realized what you felt you're here to do.
Exactly. That's the thing. That is the thing. That's why these crashing moments, as you said, if life is okay right now, there are many people I know, if you ask them, how's life is okay. Life is good. It's looking the way it's supposed to. But when you look at people, when I speak to people, deep inside, we know we're selling out.
You would then look at the people who have 30 years lived totally stable.
And then the crash.
They found out that the wife is in love with the brother, and the brother is in love with the wife. The son suddenly comes back and say, I'm moving out because I don't want to be around you. And the youngest kid dies in an accident, and then you can see what stability in life is.
It's so fragile.
It is so fragile.
Yeah.
And we believe it's there. I had my ups and downs. I had plenty of them, and the last one was tough on me, but my God, it also prepared me for what I really want to do. Really helped me clear out my mind. I can chase all this stimulus, but I need to work with my mind. I need to work, and I need to help people work with their mind, so they find stability and they find kindness, because this is empowering. Somebody said, "Oh, I should forgive," but you know what is superior, much more superior to forgiving? I once had a good person putting a gun on me, and one night I realized that he's my benefactor. This guy in Copenhagen late at night who pulled a gun on me and who upset me quite a bit back then is actually one of the greatest benefactors in my life, and I'm so grateful because he made me make up my mind. And I decided, wow, do I want to go down that path? No. I want to get my life back. I want to do something important. I gave up all drinking and alcohol and drugs because of him. It wasn't because I went and I took refuge and I met a Lama. That was a part of it too, but it was actually him who made me make up my mind. And when I became grateful to this man, and when I realized that being grateful is not forgiving, it's way beyond, because it's enriching. Oh, I forgive. I forgive him. It's very hollow. But when you say, yeah, my wife left me for my brother, and my son died in a car accident, and I learned a lot, because I need to live a full life.
Is that hypothetical, or is that a real thing?
No, that's just a sample.
Oh, okay.
I need to live a life, but there's people who it happened to, for sure.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of, like, I don't know about you, but I don't mind. Well, I guess I do mind now when I think about it. But we're talking about situations, things that happen, that the life situations that happen that you don't plan. You weren't planning and having this perfect life that things would go that way, and we have plenty of them. So I'm thinking, what can we talk about that's real to anybody who's watching?
Well, I had my ups and downs. I've been sitting. I actually left Denmark because I felt very wronged, and I didn't want to depend on the system. So I went and lived abroad, where it was my will and my life force and my determination which paid the bills. And living abroad, where there's no safety net and no falling back on anything, and there was no bank credits, no bank loans. I always had this choice of knowing that I had to get the job done. I had to make sure there was bread and butter for my kids. It was like a bit enjoying living with a knife on the throat, There was no safety net. There was no medical safety net. If I was sick, I would have to pay the medical bill. I had to pay for my
And you did this on purpose? Or did you?
Yes, I
you
did.
found yourself. You moved there, and then you found yourself like, well, this is it.
I don't think I found that specific wife on purpose, but when I met her and we start getting children, it sort of tied me down for many years in Chiang Mai, and I lived there. Two of my kids are still there, so it was love who brought me to Thailand. It was my kids who made me settle and start living a very different life, because
Wow, that's a big change, huh?
I was 34 and I had lived with my aluminum suitcase, and in it there was a backpack. If I didn't want to carry the suitcase, I would store it in a hotel or a guest house, and I was 3 days in Hong Kong, 2 days in Guangzhou, back in Thailand, and then in Nepal. And I remember back then, Dean, you said for 3 months you didn't have a key for a door, right?
Yeah.
Well, I remember a friend of mine, I got home and she said, I want your life. I said, you want my life? When you go on a holiday for a week, just imagine and tell me, what's the feeling when you put the key into the keyhole of your apartment and you think, I'm home again. I'm home again. He said, oh, I'm so happy, I love it. Then you don't want my life.
That says it.
And she looked at me and said, no, I think you're right.
Yeah, we always want something that looks good on the other side. I once was involved in a transformation course that had you look at the transformational way of looking at success, and we really got in the thick of it. You know, the standards, the ideals, the way we, the hidden ways we see what success is. You know, what is it to be successful as a male? What is it successful to be a father? All these hidden things that we have that kind of run us around trying to make it, always trying to make it. And even, it was so hard to get. For some people, it was even harder to get. They would say, yeah, but, this person has made it. And it's so funny when you look, it's hard for us to get that we think that someday we're going to arrive, chasing those. We may get the goal, we may get this goal, but then the goal's never satisfying. We're always reaching out for more and more and more. Anyway, I thought it blew me away when I took this course. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've been blown away before, but this was right after I had that "How did you get here?" moment, and I had an epiphany. Because it didn't take me so long to process this. By the way, it took me longer to get to that point than it actually got to have the aha pop. Because when I said these were the choices that I had made, then all of a sudden I was like, yeah, you sold out. You're not doing what you're up to. You wanted to make money. You were chasing the money down, and you forgot to actually give your gift. You were saying, well, when I get this handled, then I will handle that. And so I arrived there. So then I made a completely different change. I said, I'm not going to look for a job anymore, and I'm not going to look for a place to stay. Now that in my brain was like craziness. It was crazy to even say that, but the craziness of it was it popped me out of my box. Immediately I was like, so then what am I going to do? Where am I going to stay? How? It's like, you don't know. Next thing, all these crazy ideas started popping up in my head. I could talk to my friends. I'll stay at their house but not more than a week. So it became this fun game. I started calling people and saying, can I stay at your place? Can I stay at your place? I went to take my kid on a trip to the States. I had no money for it because I needed money for a place, and I needed, all this stuff. All of a sudden, it was like, I'm going to stay at my friend's house for a week, and I'm going to get to know these people a little bit better, because now people were saying yes, yes, yes all over the place, and I was staying with people I hardly knew. I had another interpretation of who they were. When I stayed with them, all of a sudden I was with them in a way that I'd never been with them. And seeing the amazingness of these people, it was blowing me away. And their generosity and their kindness, toward me, I felt like a king, you know. And at the same time, I get to keep my money. I mean, the money that I had, I was able to go on and take my son on a trip. And then, you know, a few months down the line, I got a job and I got a place. You know, things just landed right where I got a permanent place where I'd been looking and looking and looking forever. You know, when I had dropped all this stuff, everything just fell into place one after another with no effort, you know, no struggling to get there, you know, all that. So, yeah, I don't know.
You make me think of how we delude we're really deceiving towards ourselves. Because
sure, yeah.
Who gets out of bed and say, I will choose to go to work? They say, I will not consider my choice today and I will do what I did yesterday because I feel I'm obliged to do it. But I've been taught and they believe, and we believe, and I'm one of the few people who believe it less than a lot of people, that I don't have to get up tomorrow morning and do something I don't want to do or something I ethically don't agree with. Because I'm willing to live with the consequences of not doing it.
Yeah, that's the thing. The true choice is when you choose it all. You know, a victim doesn't choose anything. A victim has things put onto them. They have to do things.
No, the victim choose
to be
allow
a victim. Well, you can't allow, you know, like even to say I allow something, you know, as being a victim. I mean, you would be actually a leader. You would actually be conscious if you said you allowed something, but you know, victims don't say that. Victims say things are happening to them. They didn't have a choice.
That's the angle of the facets of the view. That's the point people choose to look at things. That's not reality, because compliance is a choice.
It is when you choose it. When you know, it's like even like when I said the consequences of me being here, you know, in this moment, right? The bottom line of that is
I'm a victim.
Yeah.
Dean,
yeah.
You and Leah forced me to be here.
What? Oh yeah. Yeah. Total victim. I can see it all over your face.
You forced me, right?
Yeah.
I said I volunteer. Or was it the social obligation who made me come here?
Yeah, I made you. Just for the record, that's what I do. Don't worry. The guys with the guns down a little bit lower. We don't want them in the camera. No.
And the brute with the tattoo will talk to Dean, not to me.
Yeah, just sit back a little bit. Don't intimidate us. Anyway.
No, but you know, that's what I say. Make yourself aware of choosing. It's like all my life, and let your mind spin free and be intuitive and be fun and be witty at times, because you want to have a good life. But the smarter you are, if you're not a psychopath, the smarter you are, you need to apply empathy and understanding of other people. And I think that's why people like Daniel Goleman, I lived in many cultures, and living in Thailand, coming with this stupid Danish righteousness that this is right and has to be right. And the Thais would look at me and they would say, but what does right and wrong matter if you have a solution?
Yeah.
What do you want? Do you want to live and hammer down your principles? And I was so stupid I did. I said, well, this is right. Yes, it is. But do you want to have a problem instead of a solution? And I lived in that culture for so many years, where solution was the whole issue. Coming from a culture where principles was the whole issue, and the principle overruled common sense.
Yeah.
No. Of course they were king, but they were steamrolling common sense. And I was landed in this culture, probably the culture in the world with the most smart people, because their emotional intelligence is. Daniel Goleman couldn't have done it better. They all have a higher emotional intelligence than any European I met. And all they do is to look for solutions. They don't look for truths. They don't look for principles. And they don't care if they tell a white lie, and they solve a problem like that. But stupid people will say, you don't do that. And I also learned that if people behave very different from what I do, I need to look for the reason why. I need to ask myself why. When a waiter put ice water on me the first time and he smiled, instead of falling on his knees and say, I'm so sorry, sir, can you forgive me? And he just smiled, because for him that was the right thing, because if I smiled back, my brain would be flushed with dopamine. He didn't know that part of the explanation, but there was a whole deep cultural pattern, anchored reaction patterns. You made a mistake, you were embarrassed, you didn't need to apologize. You need to smile back so the other person could feel at ease and smile back and say, okay, let's go. Let's not make a problem. So for me, I think that life is so enriching if we are open, and we need, when we deal with people, to be very, very smart and very kind, because we need to see how solutions are made and created for each other. So my time in China was very
enriching.
It was challenging at the beginning, and it became less so over years.
Less so.
But coming, the old joke is, culture is what you can't leave behind. Culture is what you can't forget. You come from culture and you believe in it because of the preach, and you didn't believe in the preach, but he hammered in the principle anyway, and the school hammered in the principle. And all this is based on this rigid Christian patriarchal society, that we do this and we do it because it's by law and all it's correct. Instead of being flexible, looking for happy solutions, it took me many, many years to understand. And as you talked about, really some downs and some serious challenges. And I've been through life with serious challenges, but I never lost my heart. And I think that somehow getting to do something which makes the place better is important.
You talking about think? Or what?
I think is such a contribute. I was getting to think, and then good you mentioned. Yeah, because think has the most innovative, sensible, and now I use a word I'm not happy to use, political program. And it's not a non-political program, because I don't want to be a member of a party, I don't want to be subscribing to power games, etc., etc. But in think, the environmental packages and the way they want to structure the society is the best offer I've seen. And nothing better on the market. And that's why I keep coming back.
That's great.
Why are you here?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Oh, no,
Why
okay. Yeah. Well, first of all, for the longest time, I've been wanting to make a difference, right? And I train myself as a coach, and I study and I read and I practice, and, and I have a life at the same time. And so each year, especially since, I've been together with my wife, she has reminded me over and over again, back on your mission, back on your mission, because I can be distracted by a lot of great ideas. They come, lots of great ideas. But actually putting it out into the world, making a difference, is the biggest thing. So she actually about 2 years ago told me, Dean, I think you should go out and hang out with these people that are going to be meeting up to play music over at Think. And I was like, I'm tired, just want to do my thing, you need to get out. So I came out here and met some people, and we ended up, having a magical moment together. It was really cool. And then 2 years later, 2 years later, I find out about Think again. My wife says, hey, this Think is having some, get together, and let's go to that. And I'm like, yes, let's do that. And then I came here and I met just a handful of people, and I settled in with Rosa and was talking to her, and she was great, it was great speaking to her. The way she started speaking about different people and what was going on, I was thinking, now there's something here.
This is great.
Yeah, I was like, there's something here, and it's kind of like the next step and contribution. So I can also see myself possibly doing a few courses here also, but also I'm not just thinking about myself. I'm just thinking of there's a community, there's a place where people can actually be. And I love that there's so many events happening here, so many different types of events. At first, when I was looking at it or even trying to think about that, there's something gelling, coming together here. It's not defined yet, and I think it's great because it's like an open space, which I believe in very much. This open space where you allow things to move where they want to go, and then it usually becomes something, more magical than you could ever imagine. And I think what's happening here are all different kinds of people are being attracted to this place, and they have something to contribute to each type of person in society.
You know what I think is the most magical? Because I sat down and I talked to Anya, who's one of the people running the place, and I said to Anya, it's unbelievable. I cannot fathom why we haven't struggled getting this to take off. Because take a look at the contributions, volunteer contribution, and make it into value. How much it would cost just to pay the people doing it. And she said, what do you mean? I said, every month people are giving of the times 300,000 kroner to make free events for people who can walk in because they support and love the place. I do 4 events with meditation a month. I do it because I want this place to fly. As you say, what is going on? What is coming together? There's coming very pure and clean intention together by people who see the higher purpose of the place. And again, this is why I want to be a part. I don't want to miss this because of it's just incredible. You look at World Constellation, Tri-Clear Yoga, family, woman sharing, and everywhere I look, there's the chance participant 500 kroner a night for being a part of this, and here it's free. You remember, it's free, and this is the world we should be in, and this is what scares me.
It fits so right.
Everything costs money. You pay for everything.
Yeah, which is like, you have to consider everything that you do. If you would like to do more, you'd like to flow. There's so many ways to flow in here. I was disappointed the other day when I was so busy and I had looked through things, offerings, and I said, they're going to have a meeting where everybody's going to get together and talk about the future of Think. I was thinking, I need to remember that, right? But I think it was in the morning and I was on my way to work, so I forgot about it. Until I saw that Anya had written to me that she was at a meeting that day, and I would have loved to have come to that meeting. So she said she recorded it. It would have been nice. But why? Of course, we all have something, and we know we've got something to give, and all of a sudden the moment pops up, and it's like, here it is. This is the moment. And
I see this being the first time in my life where I can say the principles are right. The principles for what I can support at this part of my life is correct. I'm not an anarchist. I'm not into supporting Baader Meinhof, or I'm not into to support the right wing. I want to see a reformed society which makes it better for the society, for the planet, for the future of my children. And the only place I can see it, and the only place I see they have the whole package is in Think, and I had given up believing it existed. I thought, it's not. I was like, is this real? After this wonderful speech by my friend Kempa Punjatashi, it's actually also on YouTube, of course.
Is he here still?
No, he left.
He just came and visited.
His interviews, I can afterwards I find it for you.
Okay.
But that brought me in, and seeing the agenda, I thought, we have to do something. This is, and these people have been very kind. They have conceptualized the whole thing. Of course, there's some margin, as you say, there need to be changes. Let's support it and let's get it going.
Yeah. I just had a vision. I think it's great that the way I see it is there is a growing community of people that each and every single person has their purpose. They're like, it's amazing. I'm excited about each person's gift. This is my thing in the world. You know, I think that all of us have this gift in us, every single person. And we're not aware of, some of us aren't aware of the gift that we have. And you know, in my epiphanies, my big epiphany of life, where I get that every person is a gift just for who they are. All the trials, all the tribulations, the things they've gone through are the actual gift that they are to people, you know, just on that level alone. Because all these things that have happened to us have brought us here. They're awakening us.
Which sentient beings, which living being on this planet have not been part of contributing to where we sit right now? We have to be very open-minded, and we have to be very responsible, because the earthworms in the cotton fields in Sudan, where your genes, the cotton for your genes come on, might be distorted, subsidized American cotton, which prevent cotton being grown anywhere in the world. The earthworm, the beetles, the insects, which has turned the soil, have contributed to the ability to have the cotton grown. The cotton has been taken somewhere, it's been culled, it's been dyed, it's been cut, it's been sewn, it's been transported, and it's been sold to you. And all along that way, there's people who contributed. And what people forget is that when we are on this planet, even the people who sit on the seat in the train with the back towards us contribute. And we need to develop respect and gratefulness for the contribution which university brings us. So we cannot allow for pesticides and destructive acts. We need to get to a point where we say, please respect the living universe of our planet, because we're taught to consume, and why you care if I throw away my smoke? It's mine. But we don't realize that mine is deprived from the universe. It's deprived from the resources of the planet. And that planet belongs to us, to all of us. And this is also why Zinc comes in beautifully, because they want to restore some balance, and I don't see anybody else there even talk about it.
I like, because I'm thinking that we all have a particular area we see that we want to contribute, something that we burn for. And I love it that there are other people who are working on the areas where I'm not, where my focus isn't, but is a part of that whole plan, because I believe for my vision, it's been very clear that as an individual, I'm so committed that each of our relationships with each other is like that, you know, like connected, like where we don't take it for granted, where we're always awakening ourselves to, you know, that connection, awakening so much that there is no you and I there, you know, that there's just the discovery of another part of myself, you know.
We're connected.
Yeah.
This idea totally, it's not neither either. We are two individuals. When we walk out the door, we shared, we affected each other. So that we keep. But I don't think we become one individual. I think we still have the consciousness.
Yeah.
But that connection, yes,
yeah.
I believe in it. And
yeah, when I've spoken to my, you know, I won't name names, but when I've spoken to people, sometimes they have it like connection, like as if we're the same. You know, I'm the same person as you. But I'm saying that everything is energy, and you may be able to put miles and miles between the particles of energy, but there is no miles and miles between them anyway. The impact is felt on everything.
Yeah, I could just confirm what you're saying, because if you believe gamma rays are the lining of the universe, if you believe that gamma waves are touching and affecting ourselves, when Mingyur Rinpoche, Tibetan Lama, was in the University of Madison, Illinois, and I asked him to meditate on compassion, continuously during the period where he may focus on compassion, he emanated gamma waves. And before that, it's only sporadically been noticed that suddenly in the mind there's a gamma wave. But when we focus on compassion, we connect. It's also why many famous people said, you want to see somebody, you need to have enough empathy, you need to have enough compassion to have space for them to be in your consciousness, to embrace them as they are, and then you see them.
Yeah.
Because without that, you project.
Yeah, and we don't know that we're projecting, you know.
Oh, we know, because we allow ourselves to do it. We allow ourselves to make the habitual pattern of saying, I don't like light blue striped shirt. That's that idiot. Do I have to talk to him? But we're not trained to be conscious of the process we're developing in our brain when we like, when we dislike, and when we remain indifferent, because it's all part of brain process. Mm-hmm. If you take a book like Destructive Emotions, see the maps, how the brain reacts differently, how it compartmentalized. If you don't know it, if you know the object, if you like it or dislike it, how it's go through all these filters, which is habituals, then you also realize we have choice. Mm-hmm. But if you deny the choice, which most people will do, then we run around in what I call habits, and we do make those choices.
Yeah, we
unconsciously.
Do. Yeah, that's the thing, you know, like some of those choices we made very early, and everything else has been built on top of that, on top of that mountain, you know. That's also why, you know, like awareness. What is the word awareness? It always even surprises me when I bring it up, awareness, because the thing about awareness is being aware. It just means being aware of
present.
What? Yeah, being present. And when you're being present, how can you be present? Like, you know, like what I found for myself, what was very interesting is when I did that course I was telling you about, what I saw through the conversations of that course, what I saw in my relationship with my ex, for example, that I was having a lot of issues with. One of the things that I saw about that, because I could never see, what was it? Why were we always having these conflicts? And I was thinking, and I could only see what she was doing. I could see I was doing all these great things because, you know, I'm such a transformed guy, you know, but I couldn't see, of course it has something to do with the unseen, the outside of my own view. And what I got through those conversations was everything that I'm doing is coming from being separate. So every time she said or did anything in a certain way, I would check out because I'm not a part of her, you know, I'm disconnected. I'm an individual over here. She's doing something to me. But as soon as I altered that, as soon as I became aware of that I was having a separation conversation with the world, that altered everything. Because the next moment, just acknowledging in the moment where things aren't working, and I'm going, oh, you still think you're separate. And then all of a sudden become curious, interested, like, you know, like who, well, if I'm not separate, that means I'm connected. How?
In relations, in war and peace, in love, and in every relation, you know what matters? Doesn't matter if you surrender, if she surrender. It's matter when you surrender together.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't happen, and there's no willingness that the power game is on, I like to see you surrender now, but I'm not surrendering. You're pushing each other into another habit.
Yeah.
And
that
not
is
saying, sweetheart, could we just meet?
Yeah.
Because there's no meeting, there's another habit of... And I went through a lot of it, and that's why I see it today, and I chose not to be a part. I choose in general to avoid being a part of it. If I meet anger, I fold my hands and I said, sorry, but is this me? Or I made a great mistake. I said to somebody, but all this is just spinning your own head. And
yeah.
it's gonna take a long time for you to forgive me, and it's still a long time coming, you know. But if if people have decided that they want a confrontation, doesn't matter what, they will find a way to justify it.
Of course.
And
of
I
course.
see that in my own habits, interaction with people. I see it between people. I see it also between parents and children, that those patterns are so established.
Oh yes, I work with kids, you know, from 5 to 9 years old, and I chose that type of work when I was looking for work. I wanted to have work that gave meaning, because I said I'm up to transforming people, but I'm not able to make a living at it right now, you know. And right now I need to make a living. And I was thinking, but how? And I was kind of in a stuck place with it. I'm like, I'm no longer willing to sell out, take work that doesn't have to do with that. Of course, you can make a difference anywhere you're at. But I said, well, what about kids? You can make a difference with kids. I mean, come on, you know, they're the little ones that are going to be big that you're talking. So I was so motivated. So I started working with kids. I said, it'll be great because I understand the theory behind when we make up stuff and you know, how little we are and all that. I wanted to be involved with it. I wanted to see it. Now I have kids, so I've seen them, but they've gone through their ages, and I wanted to see it on a daily basis. How does this work with a bunch of kids together? How are they operating? Are those conversations they have, you know, are they so clear? You know, can you see how they're operating? Oh, it's so clear, and it's amazing. Brilliant.
And half of it is picking order, poking order.
Yeah.
I will need you in place, you need me in place. My thought is better than yours, you know. It's so clear.
Well, I'm not seeing the parental part. I'm just seeing the kids for the most part.
No, I'm talking about the parent, the kids.
Yeah.
The kids. There's nobody more skilled in establishing a visual, established, solid hierarchy. If you look at kids, they have they have hierarchies, and where us adults, it's impolite, but we still have it.
We are like the ninjas at trying to make it undiscoverable. But and kids are very clear about it. That's for sure. But it's brilliant to watch kids, because for me it's so brilliant to see that how early on, how wise. I mean, how much they already contain. How much they're already able to, what can I say? They're brilliant. And, you know, all the ways they're stuck, you know, and get stuck is so clear. But, you know, I mean, it's so clear. It's not hidden, but they still try to hide. So imagine how it gets when we're these adults that we are. I love being in that environment with them.
But you miss out on the most interesting area of kids' life, which I think is the most amazing to observe.
Which is?
And that's area between close to 2 to 3.5, but it stops before the 4.
Oh yeah.
I am contemplating my reaction. I am contemplating. Will I play with my elder brother? Will I run on and kick Dad because I decide to be mad at him? Or shall I run to the kitchen and pull Mommy's skirt, start crying and telling that Dad teased me? No, I'm gonna run over, give that one kid, and then I'll continue play with my brother. 10 minutes later, as the feelings are not autopiloted, the kid runs out to the mom and pull the skirt and says, "Oh, mom, daddy did this." But they never said 10 minutes ago. But it's all there in the brain, and they learn how to react and put their emotions on autopilot. And that, for me, is the most exciting period of children's life. And it happens, they stop doing it when they're 4. It's all already on autopilot. But seeing kids, and I'm also interested in human development, so I was thinking, it's a way to teach these kids how to help themselves see how feelings sprout, how feeling emerge, and become aware, so they become more controlled and less impulsive, so they're not dragged into patterns which they replicate for me of bad emotional happens, reactions, and other people. And that's where I think children is for me the absolutely most exciting thing.
It is because from 3 to 5 is when they make up their identity. I
think from 2 to 4 is really.
Yeah. But language, because there's a lot with language. Once they get
identity comes before. I've seen one of my kids when he was less than 2 telling his mom that he wanted to dress like a girl for the New Year dances. There was a New Year party. It was the last day before the New Year, and he told his mom, "I don't want to go as a girl." He wanted Minnie Mouse shoes at 2, and I bought them for him, and she didn't. And I went in and I looked at my son and I said, "If you're dressed like a girl," and they were fighting, and she was slapping him, and they mad at him for wanting to go to kindergarten dressed as a girl. You know what I said, Dean? I said to this 2-year-old boy, I said, "That's fine. If you dress like a girl, so will I." And looked at me and said, "Dad, you cannot dress like a woman. You cannot dress like a girl. Let her dress like a boy." And the fight was over. Right? But I don't think that identity is... I think there's things in our identity which might go back pre-conception. I think but this is all hypothetically, but I think that identity, certain like sexual orientations, etc., are developing very early, and it's not before, maybe even before the child is born.
Yeah, you never know, because also you take into account all these other things that my wife loves to tell me about. Remember, there's karma. Remember that. She likes to talk about karma. And, so I like to entertain those things. But the thing that I think is the most important, has been the most important for me, is that I've seen so many people go down the spiritual path and get lost in things but they're not aware of what they're actually doing, on a very concrete level with patterns. Not aware of that.
But are they on a path, or are they out for a picnic? The spiritual buffet is so big, and I see people pick a little bit there. They don't engage with a master. They don't have somebody they trust. They believe. So they all are in for a free pick, and when it gets confronting, they say, "This didn't work for me. This didn't work for me. I'm dealing with something I don't like.
I don't agree with this, so I'm not." Like you said, pick and choose.
Really. Looking at how the Hindus and the Sufi and all the different spiritual tradition, you had a master and you became his students, and it lasted 3 to 10 years in all the established. If you were a Jewish master or you were a Sufi, your students stayed with you for 8-10 years. To learn what it meant. And now the people think they can engage in those spiritual paths as quick as it takes to wear off an acid trip, 8 hours, 12 hours. They go for the sky and they think, oh, this is a great boss. This is like Avatar. Now the world is beautiful, but why did I wake up? Why did I return? Why do I encounter the same traumas, the same suffering, and all my mental habits? I thought I was reborn. Doesn't work like that. Engaging on a spiritual path requires you really go beyond the books, and you work with a master who has achieved some kind of realization. And it takes a long time, because you go back and you polish off, and so the spiritual buffet is becoming even more available on the internet, where you can do your tarot cards so they can get a free reading of your horoscope, or you can meet a spiritual advisor who's
what I hear you saying is, or what I experience is, it is the difference between getting your own, you get your own understanding, your own experience, versus, at first you learn from others. But you at some point have to get your own experience. And a lot of people are getting their experience from hearing from other people or reading about this, but not actually going out and doing the work, falling down and, breaking a few things.
If you want to learn about medicine, you go join a medical university 7-8 years. If you want to become a meditation master, you do 3, 10, 12 years of intensive meditation. You have a whole program, you learn, so you can pass it on. I don't believe that you learn that in 2 days or 2 weeks. But a lot of people expect
there's
to
also
have
learning.
realization in 2 days or 2 weeks.
Yeah, but also, it's kind of like, we talk about this, it's not like you arrive and then there's no more learning. It's like what you learn now is, I don't know, I think of it like a spiral. It just gets, it gets deeper and deeper, and there's deeper cuts, and it's like you arrive at this peak and you realize there's another peak, and you arrive at that peak and you realize it just expands, the understanding. It deepens and it deepens and it deepens, and that's my experience. So,
but how comes the people expect arrival before departure?
Everybody they want it now. They want it now. Everybody wants it now. You want it now. You don't want it tomorrow.
No, I've been living in monasteries for years and doing.
Have you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, done a few years in meditation retreats, and I tend to go back and continue.
Why? Why go back and continue?
Because I believe that I believe in liberation of neurotic thoughts, and the only way I believe I can go past my own neurotic mind is by practicing meditation. So I would like to spend some time in intensive retreat to go past that.
But then when you come back, what's that is it gonna continue, or is it gonna decay, or do you have to keep going to have that happen, or what is that?
Come back where?
Well, like you go to retreat, you go to monastery, you go to somewhere for a while, and then what happens? And I'm not,
I still have to choose which monastery. If I do it in Thailand, right now I'm working on a very big project, and I've been asked to be the director of a big project, and that scares me because I had no time for meditation. It's full occupation. It's a big.
What kind of project?
He wanted me to. Somebody asked me to come out and be the dean of a Buddhist university, where I'm working with the Bhutanese government to get a retreat, a Kshetra, a university built in northeast Thailand. And when the abbot of the monastery heard about the situation in the Tibetan tradition, or the Vajrayana tradition, that after you've done your philosophical education. You go into a 3-year retreat. He said, but then you need land for a 3-year retreat. I will give that to you as well. So he said, we don't need to have a monastery, a shelter built, and then talk about the retreat place where people can meditate. And so he offered them land for both. So I'm involved in this, and I got a message today about the progress and other things. And
so are you doing it, or?
I've been asked to come and be a part of the management team. In my life, I have had my own business, and then I have written 2 jobs application in my life, and one I didn't send.
Okay.
It's true.
Okay.
Sounds crazy, but I have worked. I have worked about 4.5 years as a CEO or manager or managing director for different companies. But it's all been, as you say, you never know when things come to you. Somebody called me in and said, Michael, we will offer you this and this, and are you willing to do this? And I said, what? Yeah, but we need restructuring. We need to save this company. We need to get it back running. And could you help us to set up a new company? I've done that with interior. I've done it with IT. I've done it with ceramic. I've done it with a lot of different fields. I go in and I get the things going. I always had one management principle. If you work into my company, I want to be sure when you walk out that you're more qualified and you can meet life in a better way than when you walk in. And it doesn't matter if you stay 3 days or you stay 30 years. If I don't empower you, my leadership have failed, and I have failed. Because when I hire people, I'm responsible for their future life. When they walk out the door, I have no more control. And that's wonderful. But I like to have them walk out the door knowing they're empowered to live a better life, earn a higher salary. So it doesn't matter when they leave. I never regret it. I just say, fine, wish you a happy journey.
And do you still work for companies, or?
I have a little business project which is fine and sound. I spoke to the buyer, and he said he'll ask the lawyer to expedite the contract. So price, product, everything, quality has been agreed. There's no more bones to sort out. Just need a non-circumvention agreement, and it's running.
So it's interesting. So you're like a businessman, and then you do meditation, and you have both sides. You feel like you're in balance with those things?
You know, men need to make a dime.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's balance. I do not work 40 hours a week usually, so it's
You work more?
I don't want
or
to
less?
sound like bragging. I had times in my life when I worked very hard. Now I work smart.
Yeah.
Very smart. I don't work very hard anymore. I have one more project I would like to get off the ground, and it depends on getting the right people, 3-4 of the right people together. I have one more project. It took me a year to conceptualize it. I have it down. I worked with a graphic designer, and in one day, in 4 hours, through to my experience with setting things up and so on, he looked and he said, "Do you know that we made the corporate identity in 4 hours?" I said, "Yes, I know. I don't need to mess around. Of course, we need to do name cards, etc., address card, postcards, all these things. But that is automatic. That's just to fill it out." I said, "I know." And he said, you know what this would cost to do?" I said, "Yeah, in Denmark, 150, 200,000. In Thailand, probably about 300,000, 50, 60,000 baht." He said, "Oh, sure. Okay, but then I've done it. I know it. So I cannot design anything, Dean. I know exactly how to alter it." If I come in and see something, I say, "Could you just make the neck 2 millimeters non-narrow?" And I say, "Stretch it 4 millimeter." And the designer sits and look and say, "What did you do? How do you know that?" "Oh, it's just something I can just see it." see color. I said, can we change the color just a tiny bit? And I've done that all my life. I work with factories and products and many kinds. I turn big pots, clay pots. I work with wood. I don't like to work with wood because it's unforgiving. I love clay. You can start over. You put it, mix it again.
Are you an artist?
Not at all.
I'm like, where are you here? Okay, yeah.
I'm one of these people who they made one mold and they threw it away. I'm a single mold guy.
Yeah, single mold guy. Me too.
I don't think it.
Yeah.
I don't think it. I just live, Many people say I should write a life story, but I don't know where to start. I don't know where to begin. And I'm not good in writing. I don't like to write things down. I don't like to.
You don't need to do that. You can have somebody, listen to you and write your stuff down. That's all. Tell your stories, ask your questions, right?
But I had a few principles I lived by all my life. One is that I'm a clown. Doesn't matter what happened. If I don't go in on the stage and make people laugh, my life as a clown is finished. The other one has been to burn my candle in both ends.
How's that going?
I'm still doing it.
Okay.
You know why?
Why?
Because
you can?
No. Imagine when one blew out.
Well, what does that look like, burning the candle at both ends? You're like, you're up all the time, never sleeping?
No, I'm most relaxed. No, I'm not so crazy as I used to be.
You used to be that crazy? Should we turn the camera off?
That's a lot of recollection. That would be a lot of recollection.
I don't know. Is it me or is it something to do with age? Or does it have? I'm not so interested in recalling what happened. And if you ask me, what happened 3 weeks ago, I'm not. It's not so important.
There is no suffering in the past. Not at all. There's only the recollection of them in the present. And you relive them, you suffer them again. Do we have to do that? Maybe that's an age where we just forgive ourselves and say, wow, I don't need this. I don't need to think about it because why should I?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. At some point I keep thinking, what happened? Either I'm getting Alzheimer's light, which I don't think, or maybe Alzheimer's heavy. But I've been spending the last chunk of my life really getting down. I try to do what works. And I just don't see any. First of all, we talk about the past. And when we talk about the past, which is, it's really a story about what actually happened. It's not even if we actually took a camera and filmed it without you seeing the film. Yeah, from whatever angle, right? We could ask you what you recollect, especially over time, and it probably wouldn't match up because it's at best it's a conversation about reality, and it's not reality itself. And the fact of the matter is, then when we start to go back and mess around with that, we're just like taking this precious moment we have right now to be present to actually not be present and go back and drag something else into our present, which doesn't really belong there. So I don't know. Also with problems, so-called problems in life, things that are happening, and some things that are challenging that come up in my life, my wife says, but you should be concerned about that, And I said, I'm concerned about what I can do something about. So like, and at the moment there isn't anything I can do about that. It is the way it is. And I could speculate on how it's going to be, but why? I said, why should I spend time on speculating about how use up all my energy on speculating? The only thing I've seen about that is cause myself to be stressed. You know, to get stressed where I can't think clearly and I don't sleep, or, you know, worrying about a lot of possibilities. And then my experience is a lot of times the reality is never any of those things that I speculated on. And even if it is, the experience of it is completely different. Handling the issue is like, you know, it goes so quickly. When I think back, I think, why waste so much energy on something that actually takes a few moments to actually deal with?
And which, very often, you could have dealt with in a different way. But you're obsessed with reacting to the way you dealt with it. Is that skillful? It's not very smart. So we very often, when you go back and we relive those situations, we're reliving them because we chose not to be smart. And that's why we will relive them. And sometimes we justify not to be smart because we can justify it.
Everything.
And sometimes we need to try to go back and justify it. And that is a deprivation from the being present. If I have one aim and one goal for my future, is to be kinder to everybody. Being the spiders I'm encountering in my house, the people I see on the street, the birds who fly in the sky. I want to be better to them all, without exception. Mm-hmm. And this is my goal. I'm not perfect, but that's what I'm striving. So all that what happens before, yes. If it's small talk to entertain people who wish it, yes, I engage, because it makes them happy. But why do I need to recall if I brush my teeth or if I wash my hair first yesterday when I took a shower? Who cares? Maybe I care. Maybe my wife cares. I had a wife who was very upset when I shaved before I brushed my teeth, and she wanted me to brush my teeth before I shaved. So I started doing it, and I was very annoyed. Today I would just say, "Wifey, okay, I'll brush my teeth. Or would you like me to shave before I brush my teeth today? Which way today makes you happy?" And, I would just look at it like this.
Well, and that's the thing, one of the things, the key thing is, life is, like I often say, it's a snapshot. If you do a cartwheel and you take snapshots of it as it's occurring, you could say, well, how's life? Well, 1 minute is like this, and the next minute is like that, and another minute is completely you're on your head. And you can't say that is life. You can't say life is, well, I'm on my head all the time. You're not. You're moving. It's not something. If you're going to talk about it, you're going to take a snapshot out and start talking about that.
But for people, when they encounter life, there's two ways of doing it. To be at ease and encounter it without putting values to it. And then there's the people who personalize it and says, why did you turn off the light? You did this to me. Where the person who is not personalizing would say, wow, the light went out. And the person who turned on the light would say, oh, I turned it off. Sorry. And the light could turn on. The person who personalized and said, why did you do this to me? The person would say, sorry, I will turn on for you. I'm so sorry. But you wait and you experience in a way where you personalize the experience 100%. If you're on top of things become less personal. When you're down and out, everything's become more personal. You can't distance yourself. Some people who are very on top of everything can compartmentalize their reaction and emotions, And those people are very dangerous because they do not engage. You had one guy called McNamara, an American Secretary of State, and he was all whatever. You have people like Donald Rumsfeld who know what his action does, and he's totally goes to bed and sleep well. I hope for him, but it's for his victim, it's another story. But you have people who can live on compassion. But we need compassion to make it right, to make things, because ethics is compassion. And only by having compassion we can act ethical in this world. The moment where we lose sight of that, we go wrong.
Yes, I'm with you. Thanks for this time.
Totally vice versa. You're enriching me.
Oh, thank you very much for this time. You know, the last thing I want to say on the words that you just, that you just, you know, what you just mentioned about compassion and what I said about being connected, you know, they just go hand in hand. I mean, you would not hurt or be unaware of yourself. I mean, if I'm connected to you, I'm thinking about you when I do things. I'm not just thinking about myself. I'm thinking about us. And I'm so alive when I'm thinking about us versus me. And so I have compassion for people when I'm really aware that, hey, you're not disconnected from them. You are connected to these people. And so, like, you know, some people want to get to it. They want to get to a place like, well, I want to get to compassion, but you already have it, you know. So
We are compassion.
yeah, and the only thing you have to do is just be aware. You're not actually not disconnected. You are connected. There's nowhere to go to. There's nothing to get to. There's nowhere to be. You don't have to be bigger or better. You can't be bigger or better than everything, because you are everything. So I'm all for that, and I'm glad you bring that conversation to.
One advice, if people don't think they should treat somebody nice, is most people will automatically treat somebody about them with respect and admiration. But they must remember the one which they look down on are not even reached that level. So they deserve empathy and compassion because they're more miserable than themselves. So it's very important that we look at misery, we look at people who we think is not where we are, or any sentient beings, as not having achieved what you were taught at the classes. The lower achievers, can we condemn them? We need to have compassion. And the beautiful thing about compassion, you know what that is? Makes you happy.
Yeah, you know.
Genuine compassion frees everything up.
You want to free yourself up, you want to have a good life, well then free up someone else. Let them be, you know. You give compassion to people, you're giving compassion to yourself. You're allowing yourself to be, you know. It's so, and you know, how can you not love? I love this life I'm having. I think it's great because in one of my ayahuasca experiences, what I saw was I had fallen asleep, you know, and then I had all of a sudden was awakened again, and then and it kept happening, and it was kind of comical, and the wisdom that was coming to me was, relax, this is how it happens. You will fall asleep, you will wake up, you will fall asleep, and you will wake up. It's all good. Don't worry about it. And it is like that. I'm grateful when I'm waking up. I'm like, whoa, I was actually asleep. Isn't this amazing? You know? So let's wrap it.
Thank you
Thank you
so much.
And I look forward to our next conversation that we have.
I'm very happy you allowed me to be part of this.